My wife's grandfather has a very strong work ethic, to the extent that he expects that the rest of the family should share that work ethic as well. He's well in his 80s, still hasn't retired, working in metal trading business. So when my sister-in-law, after she gave birth, he waited a few months, he waited about a year or so, but even though there was no nurseries to send the child to right away, he already expected my sister-in-law to get back to work. And so, with a little encouragement, she found a full-time job, thank God. And what she had to do in the meantime was give her child to a nanny who could watch her during the work hours of the day. So, as you can imagine, this child, my niece, is spending so much time with this other woman, spending so much time with her nanny, that she builds a strong bond with her. And one day, lo and behold, they come home, and she brings my niece into the doorway, and my sister-in-law comes out. Her mother comes out with her arms wide, ready to embrace her. "Oh, my baby, you're home." And then the child says to her mother, "No, mommy, Shirley. I want to spend time with Shirley, my nanny, not with my mother." What a heartbreaking statement. But if a mother hears their child say, "I don't want to spend time with you right now," does the mother stop loving their child even after such heartbreaking words? In our parsha this week, Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses, our great leader, he is told by God, "Nikom nikmas b'nei Yisrael me'es ha-Midyanim." Go ahead, lead a battle against the Midianites and inflict the revenge of the Jewish people upon them for causing sin. And afterwards, Achar te'asef ala mechan. Afterwards, you will be gathered unto your people. Then, immediately after the battle, you will pass away. Rashi says on this, what does that mean? Even though Moshe knew that the second the battle was over, he would die, even though he knew that if he didn't go to wage war, he would be able to spend more time in this world and delay his demise, delay his death, Asa besimcha v'lo icher. Moshe Rabbeinu went ahead and he served God with simcha, with joy and exuberance, and he did not delay in fulfilling this mitzvah. Rashi also says that if you look a few verses later, it says, "Vayimsaru me'alfe Yisrael." So they had to give over. What does it mean, give over? Rashi says that the Jewish people had to be forced to go out to fight the Midianites. Why do they need to be forced? Because L'hodiacha shivchan shel ro'ei Yisrael b'mahin chaviv mal Yisrael. This tells us something, that they had to be forced to go out to fight because they knew that their leader Moshe would die if they went out to fight. Before they heard Moshe was going to die after the battle, what was their relationship like? The relationship was that of Od Ma'at Uskaluni. Moshe just recently said, Moshe says in the desert to the Jewish people, or to God about the Jewish people, that if I just push them a little more, I'm going to get stoned by these people. They hate me. They want to stone me. But when the Jewish people heard that immediately after this battle, their beloved leader Moshe will be taken away, the now beloved leader, lo ratzil leches ad shenimtzeru al karchan. They did not want to go until nimtzeru vayimtzeru. They were given over, they were forced, they were coerced to go into battle against their will. Now the Ksav Sofer picks up a point in Rashi. Why did Rashi have to tell us Od Ma'at Uskaluni? Why did Rashi have to inform us that, they love Moshe now, but if we go back a little bit earlier during their time in the wilderness, they really would have wanted to stone Moshe? If you were delivering a eulogy for someone, if I were going to do that, I probably would focus on their praise. I wouldn't say, oh, and by the way, so-and-so, during his lifetime, here's a list of people that didn't like him. Yeah, he was despised by a few people over there. Those aren't the things that you want to bring up when you're trying to remember fond memories. And yet, for some reason, Rashi deemed it pertinent to tell us that. So we have to understand what kind of leader Moshe Rabbeinu was. Moshe was not a typical leader. You see, a typical leader, a king, let's say, when he goes to wage war, he's not waging war for his people. He's waging war to protect his people in order to protect his kingship, to protect his power. Because ein melech b'lo am. If there's no nation, there's no king. You need a nation in order to lord over. But Moshe Rabbeinu, he knew that he was going to die. Yet anyway, he went out to wage war for these people because it wasn't about him. It was about the people that he served. And also, a typical person, when you think about it, a typical person who helps someone else out, if that beneficiary does not appreciate what is being given to them, then you stop giving to them, right? If I'm doing someone a favor and they don't express appreciation for that favor, I'm probably not going to be as inclined to do a favor for them in the future. However, and in Moshe's situation, it wasn't just simply they didn't appreciate him. Remember, od ma'at huskoluni. He says they're ready to stone me. And yet, even though it was at his personal expense, he remained committed and he had this unrequited love. But it was a dedicated love. It was a genuine, unconditioned love for the Jewish people. And ultimately, they did recognize this. And that's why the Jewish people had to be forced to fight for him. You see, the Od Ma'at Uskaluni, it speaks to the greatness of Moshe Rabbeinu. It's not a Genai. It's not against Moshe. It tells us how great he was, that he knew that the Jewish people did not fully appreciate what he did for them. And yet he committed himself to them nonetheless. And this unconditional love that Moshe had was like the unconditional love that a parent has for a child. It's the unconditional love that we try to have for all of our fellow Jews. And especially during this difficult time, not just during COVID-19, but also now that we are in the 3 weeks that we feel most abandoned by God, where we remember that we are in exile and that we're sent out of the temple. If we could commit to some level of unconditioned love for our fellow Jew, for our neighbors, and for those around us, I hope, my prayer is that just as if Moshe Rabbeinu, the prophet of God, had an unconditional love for the Jewish people, of course, it stands to reason that God has an unconditional love for us as well. And I hope, and we should pray for that, and that we see those signs, b'karav b'yameinu, in our times and speedily in our days. Have a good Shabbos.